I will begin as I always do, and you guys know what's coming right now. It's the official hashtag joyant and jubilant hello. Welcome to all of my good friends out there in the trading universe, or as I always say, any friend I have in any universe. Welcome to another trade review and recap. I got something special. I'm going to think a little outside the box here. And today, by your requests, because many of you reached out to me and you said, Doug, some of these stocks you're trading are expensive. Do you have any cheap stocks? Well, I do have some cheap stock. So today I'm going to share with you, I'm not even calling them cheap. They're not cheap. That's a bad word. Lower price stocks ready to explode. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about. I'm going to give you two of them today, which I really, really like. Some I've traded in the past here, and I think you're going to like these. Before we start, as always, if you guys need help with your personal trading, somewhere here on the screen will appear a link or down in the description box. Join our live trading community if you want to go to the next level. So, what do I bestow upon my good friends today? Do I bestow good fortune? I certainly hope so. Here's what we have on tap. Obviously, you already can see who's on the screen first, and this is Smoothie Voozy right here, ready for you. Now, I got to be honest with you. I feel like a total nincompoop here for this stock. I say these things and I'm full of self-deprecation because I always want people to know I'm 24 years into being a trader. And this sort of stuff never happens. Like if somebody says, one of these days I'm going to stop leaving money on the table. No, you kind of always do that. There's always these instances. You can't be perfect. So I'm going to walk you through this chart. I was in this thing back here on this breakout. I bought here on this breakout and I sold up here. And I really thought at the time, I was like, I'm superstar. I'm smoking this thing. I'm killing it. And, well, you can see what happens. It's moved all the way up to $30, since I sold it. So ever since that, I've been waiting for an opportunity to get back in. To add insult to injury, I actually missed the recent window of opportunity when this thing sold off right here. And I mean, this is textbook, guys. And look at this. Right into support. I don't know where I was. I must be with those friends in the other universe because I did not see this. I'm going to give it a little smiley face. Let's call it like the King's Crown. The King's Crown setup. I mean, sweet. And since then, this thing's moved up about 100%. I mean, this is a beast of a stock with a good fundamental growth to it. This is a very, very nice stock, and I want to get back into it. That being said, I can't do it here. I just simply cannot buy this stock at this price, even though I feel that it's going to $50 soon. And guys, I want to really reiterate this. Price is the most important thing. The better our entry, the better everything else works. The better our risk versus reward, the more likely we're not able to get stopped out, the bigger our profits are. And I just simply can't chase a stock that's been up 100%. Now, we are pulling back here a couple of days, and I want to start looking at some back testing levels. So for you new guys out there, or gals trading, it's important that a stock, after a run-up, back tests many of these areas. Why does it need to do that? Well, you need to do that because it needs to solidify the rally that you saw. So like if you go back here, while this thing was ramping up, I'm sure there was a lot of traders that were thinking this thing was overbought. There was probably a lot of those penny stock traders shorting this thing. Sometimes they're right, but in this case it looks like they were wrong, but it had its opportunity to be sold off and it wasn't. In fact, what it did is it spent the next month or so consolidating. What that really means there is it's consolidating those gains. It's re-solidifying those gains that it made, adding to the validity of the next breakout. And that's the reason why I took it, because it showed long-term stability, long-term support, and then you'll get your next up wave. That's how all assets work. So these moves need to be back tested. You got a couple of areas here of interest. One to me, I don't know how accurate I am with these numbers. On the side of this Thinkorswim is in half. It's 20, 25, 30, 35. That's what I mean by halves. So when I'm looking at it, I can't judge to the penny. So just take these, I guess, with a grain of salt. These are just areas that I'm looking at. We got a pretty nice pullback, but I think for me, roughly in this area, which I would say is about $23, is where I would be interested in starting a position on this. Even better if we could get somewhere down here, which I believe is 18. I would be much more inclined to use a bigger size down here, but at least start going in at 23. I think if you buy it right now, well, I don't think, I know if you buy it right now, you're taking a big risk. I think you at least need to see where this thing ends up stopping the selling, because it started here at 30.65 and it's dropped pretty aggressively for this thing down into around the 26s right now as I'm doing this. So, you know, I mean, it could go a little bit further. I don't want to do it right here. But I'm looking at this. Stop would be definitely underneath of this pivot, which I believe is going to be about $14 or $13. So these are the levels that you're looking at. I don't know if we're going to make it down here. This would be my stop, but I look at something more along the lines of fading down into here, preferably off of 18, and then doing the same thing as it did here, this quality check mark pattern where you're pulling down and then you're check marking back up, and it begins to run up here to 50. And I do believe you will see that. This is much like NIO back in October. If you guys remember the video, look at here on the channel, it's timestamp where I said this is why NIO's going to 50. Now, some of you might think, why do you know stuff like this? Well, I don't know for sure, but how would I feel confident? Well, one thing that no one can ever teach you is screen time. This is something you have to learn on your own, guys, and this is why you do it. Because every day that you spend in front of the screen in the market is a day of learning. It's a positive day. Even if you lost money, it's still a positive day. Because something that you're seeing now, whether you made money on it or you lost money on it, is something that will be repeated in the future. It's like the Bon Jovi song, Only a Cowboy, right? You know, about only the names will change. It's all the same. Only the names will change, right? It's all the same. Only the names change. We've seen these movies before. We've seen these names before. We've seen this cycle before. So when I see Roku, when it went from $30 to a couple of hundred, when I saw Peloton from 27 to 100, when I saw NIO going from 10 to 15 up to 50, years before that, I saw NVIDIA go from $30 to a few hundred. There's a pattern, there's a repetition, there's a behavior that these have. I see that now in VUSI, and it's got the makings of that. Now, there's obviously no guarantees, but I do like VUSI. So my advice on this one, don't chase it here. That's not how you want to do this. Maybe you get lucky, but we're not here for luck. You know, it's not about one trade. We're here to build a body of work of doing the right things. I want to get down here close to $20 to $18 for an entry. Want a nice little pivot and see if we can get a move like that. VUSI, I think it goes higher by the summer. You're going to see 50 on this thing. Oh, the market's closed. But anyway, that's what I want to do. Now, I got another one here for you. We are going to look at, and I just got out of this one here recently, HTH. Well, I got a little small position, a tiny small position left. This thing has really impressed me, myself. I mean, this is a stock I've been in and got a great grind up on this. It's a slow mover. I'm surprised I'm one of the only people that's talking about this thing. I mean, these things move from 20 to 40, but it's done so in a different manner. So what you have in something like VUSI or some of these other stocks is you get parabolics. You get these really strong, aggressive upruns. What that means, it's as a translation for euphoria. It means that everybody is just stepping over each other to buy the stock. It's all emotion driven, which means it probably won't last. Something like this is a very strong, very consistent trend. I mean, look at this thing. It's just linear straight to the moon here. I really like this. I sold some of it up here on this run. I still have a tiny position, so I've given a little bit back here, but I want to add back into this because I have a little bit different longer term view. I think this is also a $50 stock, but I think the manner in which it gets to 50 is going to be far different than what you have with VUSI. So when you're looking at VUSI, you can see by the chart that tells you it's going to be more erratic, it's going to be more volatile, it's going to have wider swings, but the upside potential could be faster and more violent. You look at something like this and it's a little bit calmer. It's less volatile, but it still can get to the same top of the mountain, maybe just a little bit slower. And for some of you, maybe your risk appetite would prefer this. But I do really like this one. Our recent pullback from 39 to 34 looks great. You have this breakout right here in this spot, which I believe is going to be about $32. So I think if you get another down day on this one too, or well, let's just go for one trade. You get down to the 32s here. We can look for the same pivot and come back up. You can even work this off of 30, which I think is, the lower the better. So I know I've mentioned this in both of them about different prices, the scaling factor. I think this is the right way to work your swing trades. You can't always guarantee you're going to get a price. So let's say you're a trader that's going to trade 100 shares of something. It's much easier for the newer trader. And I'm a complete believer in position size saves traders' lives. It's like one of the best things you will ever do for yourself. Is you go in with maybe 50 here, plan to add another 50 here if it makes it. If it doesn't, you just take whatever you got. I mean, you can't be perfect here. But it allows you to handle some drawdowns and plan for not getting the perfect entry, sort of scaling in. And you can scale out on the way out, up too, if you choose to. But I like those areas, especially here if it can make it to 30. But I'd be willing to go in at 32 and add my position back that I had recently sold. And I think you will see that. So it could come all the way down here and then move back up. But I think both of those will provide you with a check mark here of selling off in the next day or so, followed by a very strong rally. That's why we call it the check mark, down and then back up. So there's your deal. That's what I got for you guys. I got VUSI, I got HTH. So pay close attention to them. Again, both of these, maybe not right here. Another thing about this HTH is maybe it doesn't even make it down there, but watch this little pivot. So if you get a little pivot in here somewhere where it drops and then starts to move, you can use that pivot as an entry. I hope that kind of made some sense. But watch both of these. Give them another day or so. Don't have to rush into them. There's plenty of room to the upside on these. They're going through their corrective phase. They're back testing those rallies. That's a healthy thing. Just pay very close attention to them. See if they can get as close to the major support levels as possible and keep your risk and reward in check, and you're going to be all right. Other than that, guys, I want you to take care. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you like it, give it a and subscribe to the channel. Until the next time, take care. Talk to you soon.